Rocky Lion with West Thurston Fire here today. I have a new piece of equipment that I would like to share with everyone here that is a part of West Thurston. I will go through the ins and outs of the way that the tool works, the different type of applications that we can use this tool for, and the different parts and pieces that go along with making this piece of machinery operate properly. First, I'd like to start with showing you what the different pieces are here, starting at the very rear. So we have our throttle guard, and the way that this throttle works itself is that you actually have to push the top lever down before you can pull the bottom throttle in. It's a safety feature that most all saws have. It also has a throttle lock. There's a small metal piece here that if you pull down the throttle and push it in, it will actually lock the throttle in place to where the piece of apparatus will run with the throttle staying on. The stop button is here. You can hold it just to make a ground, which will kill the electrical system and shut the saw off. You can also, as a safety feature, leave the stop button on at all times. On the other side here, we have our choke. Go all the way out, just as all other saws in the fire service. We usually try and leave them out. Leave the choke on at all times when they're not in use for the easy starting capability. These ones, unlike our steel saws and cutter's edge saws, they have a bulb, and the bulb is actually, it fills up with fuel, and you can force fuel into the carburetor for quicker and easier starting. There's also a feature like on the cutter's edge, there's a decompression button. If you push the decompression button in, it will induce more air and release some of the pressure that's inside the cylinder itself. We have a scrunch and a holder. On Husqvarnas, they have a hex key set versus a flathead on other saws. Back to this side here, we have our pull cord and our guard, and there's actually a water system that is integrated into this type of saw. There's your adjustment here, and we have a quick fitting. It goes here and you can hook to any regular garden hose size. We'll probably applicate with like a toy hose on the side of the pump mount. This saw itself, the motor is 74 cubic centimeters. It's about 5 horsepower. The operating RPM of the motor itself is 9,000 RPMs. And then when the engine displacement takes place and runs power to the drive wheel itself, the blades are then slowed down to around 5,000 to 6,000 RPMs. These blades themselves are rated at 5,600 RPMs for max speed, and at maximum speed they will run out a lot quicker. Application of these should be used at high idle, full throttle at all times to ensure safety for one and less kickback. Our exhaust port is down here on the bottom, and there's a couple quick things of maintenance we can do to ensure that these are running properly at all times. They have a 3-stage air filter system that is actually underneath this basket here, completely covering the whole intake system. So in order to access that and to access your spark plug, you want to make sure that you take this cover completely off. Once you get the screws all the way taken out, you can remove the cover to access the air filter and the spark plug itself. The way that these are designed with the different stages of air filtration, you have to actually take this whole top plate cover off in order to get the air filter out to have it cleaned. So there's 2 more additional screws here that come off. And then the whole piece will come off as one. The way to remove that is there's tabs on the side here, and you can actually push them and pull the air filter out. Manufacturer specifications say not to blow these air filters out with air, and they should only be changed if there's a problem in the running of the equipment. There's also another pre-filter here that goes over the top of the intake. And this is an air induction system to help cool the motor. And then your spark plug is here. Remove your spark plug. Use the bigger end of your scrunch. Check to ensure that your plug isn't fouled. Fouled means that it's usually loaded full of fuel and unburnt carbon. It's okay for them to be a little bit black because these do run and burn a lot of oil when you run them. Now on to the way to adjust the belt. To start with explaining how to adjust the tensioner of this. First, you want to make sure that your tensioning screw is up all the way against the guide, and to loosen and adjust and change the belt. First, you want to loosen your adjustment screw to relieve tension from these bolts themselves. Release it enough and you'll be able to notice the difference. There's a square nut inside. There's two lines and you want to have it in the middle of those two lines to ensure that you're in the right position. Just like on other chainsaws, you want to loosen these. These hold the whole drive. And then go and adjust your screw to tighten down your belt. The belt should only be adjusted after every 1 to 2 tanks of fuel, and if you notice any slippage, or if the belt needs to be replaced. After you've tightened in your tensioner screw to where your designated location. Now that we've taken care of all the maintenance procedures, I'd like to show you the quick starting procedure. The fuel mixture that this specific model takes is similar to our regular chainsaws here at the station. We use a 51 fuel mixture. The fuel is inserted right here in this hole, and it has a sight glass on the back. Starting procedures, make sure you pull your choke all the way out. You want to pump your fuel bowl until it becomes pretty stiff, usually 3 to 5 pumps. Hold there directly away from the body, and then drop start. Choke in. It should sit in an idle. If you need to give it a little more gas, make it run, be more slow. These saws are identical, except for the fact that for Wes Thurston's application, we would like to move all of our arms to the outside of the apparatus so that we can use the tool more efficiently in close quarters, up against walls and things like that. This is the way that they were delivered to us from Husqvarna themselves, and I took upon myself to move the arm on this side to see how better the application would be. So first I'll go ahead and show the difference between the two. For say if we were to try and cut hinges off of a door and try and use this with the center mount application, you don't have a whole lot of room to get up against the wall. And you're most likely going to cut into the door before you can actually cut the hinge off. With a little modification that we did on this one here, and the tools are virtually exactly the same except for the application. You can switch sides. They're dual purpose. So now I have a lot more room on the side and I can actually cut the hinge itself without damaging the wall or the door itself. The two different types of blades that we have that we're going to be using for these. There's a metal blade. It's made of aluminum oxide. It's a fibrous woven material. And then there's also a masonry wheel. And this one is a silica-based material. They're similar in the fact that you cannot use these with the water application. It will damage them, as well as they cannot be stored near or around gas fumes or in a high humid environment. It will decompose and deteriorate the fibrous material so that they will start to fall apart. And when you go to use them, they'll basically disintegrate. To ensure these tools long life here at our West Thurston Fire Department, we'd like to make sure everybody knows how to clean them properly. We would ask that everybody leave them fully intact when you clean them. Use a mild soap and degreaser if need be. Hand wash and then rinse with cold water and hand dry. Make sure that everything is completely cleaned off before you put them and return them in service. The safety of these saws is very important. They have a very large amount of torque and power, so that when you go to use them, there's a chance of kickback. You want to make sure that when you're using these saws that you hold them at a very safe manner, away from your body, and have a good center of gravity while using them, and make sure that you don't have any of your limbs in the area for kickback, just like on a regular chainsaw. Standing, you want to make sure that you have your leg positioned out of the way to make your swipe cut backwards, just as well as like on a hood of a car or something, to try and keep it away from your body to prevent kickback. Make sure that you're always wearing full protective equipment when using these, an application when you use a helmet, goggles, and glasses, as well as gloves and a coat to prevent from anything getting on your body and hurting your skin.